Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what legends are found. Let's hang out. And let's listen to 2 lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Hang Out, the podcast that we record every week after I finish putting my kids to bed. From the West Coast, I'm Lee Holmes Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who have been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. And if you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This Week in the Lesdom is a place where we can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. And we'd love to start with all of the events that we have going on. Our next trivia night is going to be Schitt's Creek Trivia Night in Boston on March 26th. I am so excited, so hope to see all of you there. We also would like to let you know we're hiring trivia hosts in other cities, so email us at events@leshangoutpod.com if you're interested.
We also want to remind you we have 2 live shows scheduled right now. The first one is coming up in just a few weeks, so don't miss out.
So
Thursday,
excited.
March 12th, we are going to be at the Virgil in LA. You can buy your tickets ahead of time. They are $15. If you buy them ahead, they will be $20 day of, and you can get those tickets at bit.ly/lesla.
And we are very excited about the guests that will be joining us. We've already announced Ashley Perez of BuzzFeed fame. We love her so much. And we are so excited to announce that Elise Bauman will be our second guest. You might know her as Laura from Carmilla, and we are so excited to have her on our live show in LA. It's going to be an absolute blast. If you want to join us in Toronto, I know it is a bit away, but it is never too early to plan a trip to Canada. Friday, July 10th, we are going to be at Burdock Music Hall in Toronto at 6:30, and we're going to be hanging out with Karen and Gwen from Barbell. We are so excited to have a little Canadian adventure, aren't we, Lee?
We're international podcasting stars now. We've made
And
it.
you can get tickets for that at bit.ly/lestoronto.
In the greater Les universe, I want to talk about a little tidbit that I just learned. So, as I'm sure everyone knows about, if you haven't seen it yet, Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Lee just made me watch the trailer.
I was going to spare you, Ellie, but Ellie hadn't even heard of it, and I think we're
I'll own my
taking
shame.
away her gay card. I'm
I'll
going
own
to
my
find a new
shame.
co-host.
All right, we're taking applications at...
Yes, email us, letshangoutpod@gmail.com. So, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, super, super gay, is supposed to be an incredible movie. I feel it's an attack that I haven't seen it yet. I'm very upset. But I also just read an article about how the director, who is a queer woman herself, Celine Sciamma, also, I didn't realize, used to date the actress who plays the main character, so cast her ex in her gay movie, which that's that gay bullshit that I'm here for.
If that movie does not get rave reviews, like, it was all for nothing. So you better watch the film. You do not cast your ex in a film unless you know it's going to be a banging film.
Yeah.
Or you cast them in a horrible film if you hate them. But I don't think that's the case.
I feel like we should email Celine a link to our episode on staying friends with your exes. Yeah.
Well, that's what's happening in this gay week. Back to you, Ellie and Lee.
Thanks, Ellie and Lee. We are so excited to bring you episode 11 of season 3, Mama Pair. And we are so excited to be joined by 2 special guests. We have Naisha and Samantha Davis-Williams, a.k.a. 2 Mommies and a Baby.
We met Naisha and Samantha at the weekend soiree, and we are so excited to have them here. I'm going to give you a quick bio on Naisha and Samantha so all of our listeners know who you are. Naisha and Samantha welcomed their baby girl in February 2018. The duo are very passionate about representing for the LGBTQ community, which led them to become first-time authors with their children's book titled Umi and Uma, the story of two mommies and a baby. The two pridefully represent women of color within the LGBTQ community and was the first married same-sex couple of color who participated and won HGTV's hit game show, Flea Market Flip. Probably their most impressive feat.
Hello.
Which somehow we didn't even get into at the weekend. Sorry, I didn't know that. I'm learning so much in this bio.
Yes. It's actually available. It's on YouTube, but you have to pay $1.99 for it.
Oh, I will pay $1.99 to see that episode.
It's worth it. And I had a chance when we were at the weekend soiree, I picked up a copy of Umi and Uma, the story of two mommies and a baby, which is super, super cute. I'm sure we're going to tell all of you where to find it later on. But it's the story of two women of color in the land of Astron who wanted to have a baby as their family felt incomplete. And it explores the ideas of equality and expressing the appreciation of a natural birth with the assistance of a doula. So after all of that, Naisha and Samantha, oh my God, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited.
We have been looking forward to this since we met you two at the weekend soiree because... What a weekend. What
an amazing weekend. I can't wait until DC. How about that?
Yeah, tell me about it. I know. As soon as they announced it, we were like, okay, so let's clear our calendar.
Yep.
Yes, we are so excited. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your journey with starting your family?
Wow. Okay. So
I know that's a big question.
I know it is. In short, when Samantha and I got together in 2010, she immediately told me she wanted to have a baby. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, not a baby. She wanted 10 kids.
Yes. So this was first date?
Wow.
More like first month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you gotta set up your requirements. Like, these are my non-negotiables.
Yeah, that was a non-negotiable. She said, do you want children? And I told her honestly, I said, I'm not ready for that right now. And she was honest as well. She said, that's fine. It doesn't have to be now or within the next year or two, but this is something that you need to know about me.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to get married.
Yeah, she wanted to get married, and I wanted to get married as well. So that was clear. We knew we wanted that to happen. But I want to say 10 children. That's what she wanted. I thought she was insane. I was like, well, okay, we'll get there, but...
Are you still on board for that?
Not at all.
That was a silent shake of the head for our listeners.
It was like 10, then it went to 3... And then we went to 2. We agreed on 2.
Yes. And then we had Abby, and then myself, because Samantha gave birth to Abigail. I did attempt pregnancy 4 tries. It wasn't a success. I want to say I didn't quit, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to walk away at the moment. So I would say our goal is to adopt, or foster to adopt. That's our next goal. I would say within maybe 3 to 5 years.
Hey, I'm sure if you put in for 9 kids, you might get them.
I'm honestly not doing it. I can't. My mind, my patience, my smile, I won't hold this together.
I have friends, they went overnight, they got like 4 kids that they're fostering right now or something, which I just is insane to me. Yeah. I'm like, you are basically superheroes as far as I'm concerned. So
yes.
So 10 is still possible then.
It's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, so you have one. You have one daughter who is how old now? I mean, we sort of introduced her for anyone who's not, fast on the month math in their head.
Yeah, she'll be 2 this February 2020. She will be 2 years old. Yeah.
2
February
years.
2013.
That's crazy. 2 years. You now have you're out of the newborn fog. You can look back with all of the wisdom and knowledge of everything that you've learned through this whole process. So outside of that first month of dating, having the conversation about having 10 kids, once you actually kind of settled down and were ready to start thinking about this, and like, how did that conversation start? Like, what were like the first steps to really making this happen?
I think, like, for me, it was always on my plan, but for Nye, there's, like, a shift change. I wasn't sure if, like, you saw people with kids and then you started kind of, like, envisioning your life with kids, but as soon as she was ready, I was ready. So once we were both on the same page that this was the time, I think for me, I personally had, like, a time crunch. Because I had this thing about turning 30 and I wanted to have the child the same time that my mother had me. Like, I had, like, this whole, like, specific plan that I needed to have. So I was in, like, more of a time crunch. So it was more of us shifting our focus to having a child. And we just kind of made the decision, but didn't really think about what that really, like, how do you actually do it?
Was the plan always for you to carry first?
Yes. Yes. Because she came to me with this,
Yes.
I want to have children.
Yes.
And I was like, okay. Like, we didn't even question it further. Yeah, it was always her.
Yes.
Once you were like, okay, it's time. I feel like as queer women, we're always like put into, I swear, even now, I feel like people are like, my mom will be like, so, like, are you going to carry the baby or, like, is she? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's, like, stuff that people are always asking you.
Or the most frustrating one, like, are you going to get pregnant at the same time?
Same time?
Did that ever cross your mind?
People ask us that
all the
time.
We were like, hell no.
Hell no.
But thinking now, I'm like, dang, maybe we should have tried. But then I'm still like, no.
Yeah, we agree, like, thinking now because of, we would, like, another child and not have to deal with newborn life again. We say that, but I'm happy. It was fine. We did not get pregnant at the same time. We could have. Isn't that the beauty of a queer relationship?
No. It is not. Look, I feel like I need a PSA for our listeners. Nothing against pregnancy, because, I'm just such a big fan of pregnancy. If you've ever met a pregnant woman and or been a pregnant woman, no relationship needs two of those at the same time. That's too many. It's too much hormones. It's too much.
Did you have a relatively easy pregnancy?
For me, like, it was fine. I think I had, like, more pain when it came to, like, my tailbone, but for the most part, it was an okay experience. I think also, like, for me, like, within my personality, I like to take things, like, within the moment or one day at a time. So if yesterday was, like, horrible, I guess I didn't focus on that. But it was fine. But that process also helped me deal with the contraction because I did do a natural birth. So that pain was very intense. I didn't have anything to compare it to. I didn't, like, do any research. I was not on Google. I didn't want to hear anybody's pregnancy story. I just kind of just wanted to go through it and just be oblivious to what could actually happen so that
you and I are, like, opposite humans. We are, like, the dead opposite of each other, and I kind of love it. But it's great because it's so cool to be like, there's no right way or wrong way to do this.
No.
There's just, like, what's the way that's going to make you the happiest and the most comfortable with it? And, like, we are very opposite people. Ellie, you were saying, besides the questions that people ask, like, there's the process of deciding to start a family as queer women is different, right? I mean, it's not the same as any straight couple. Most of the time, any straight couple is typically going to start that journey by saying, like, hey, we've decided we want to get pregnant, like, ditch the birth control, whatever method we happen to be using, and, like, here we go, let's do this, right? It is not that straightforward for us. Like, there's a lot of things that have to fall into place and decisions that you have to make. So what were some of the first decisions? Like, what were some of the first questions that you started talking through when you started thinking about this?
Well, our first decision I want to address, actually, because we have a known donor, was narrowing down within our five male friends who we would ask. So we had
I think it was also deciding whether we wanted to have a donor or get sperm from, like, the sperm bank. Because we did look into that route, but it was very different. Like, one thing I think it just takes, like, the romance or, like, the connection out of everything. So that's, like, shopping on the sperm bank was just, like, I felt like I was trying to find, like, the perfect, like, blue pants with, like, this zipper. Like, the amount of questions they ask you when you shop online, like, it just that really like overwhelmed me. So the first time we thought about having a child, like that's the process that we ended up going because none of our friends were available at that particular time.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just stopped. Like I just couldn't go through that process further because I felt like it was too technical for me to kind of like figure out what to choose. I don't know. I guess I didn't want to be wrong. I don't know.
It's your donor. You built a profile, but that's another thing. We were very limited with our requirements. I'm 5'11". You two have seen me in person. And my main requirement, I wanted a taller donor. Mm-hmm. And once, of course, unfortunately, we had started with 5,000 searches with search results brought down to African American, maybe 500.
Yeah, and then we added the height.
When we added the height,
and then we added the height and added known donors.
Yes,
I really wanted to have a known donor.
Yeah.
We should have taken a picture of me and Naisha standing next to each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, it didn't work out for us. We were brought down to maybe about 20 people. And then we were like, oh my gosh, should we pay to see his baby pictures? And I'm like, I can't. Yeah. So we actually put it on pause for about a year. And then here's the thing. We asked the friends that we were interested in. One said, yeah, I'm definitely into it. I can't wait to take the baby for a full year at summertime. And we were like, oh wow. Pause. We're not down for that. We appreciate it, but we're not down for that. Another friend said, wow, I'm going to feel very odd that, I'm not actually in the baby's life, which is totally understandable. And then our third and final choice, he said, okay, but his current girlfriend at the time said, no, not happening because he didn't want to give her a baby. He's a father already of one, and he didn't want another child.
Spilling his tea.
Sorry. I mean, he's a known donor to us.
It was like that L Word episode.
Yeah.
Yes. Literally.
Old school L Word.
I'm open if you want me to stop it.
No.
Okay. So that's what happened. So being that he said yes, but he actually understood the L word. He was like, yeah, I've seen the L word before. I don't mind helping you out. So being that he said yes, but his girlfriend said no.
The L word helping women get donors since whatever.
Right.
Since 2000, when did that come out? 5, 6, something like that?
Something like that.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Oh, my God, I was so young. Samantha's a few years older than me. Once she said no, we were like, oh, don't know what to do. But then we waited. Maybe it was like a year and a half later, and he actually contacted us and said, how's, just checking in, how you two doing? Okay. He said, I was just curious, anyone pregnant yet? And no. And he was like, I'm willing to help if, you still need the help. And I said, what happened to your girlfriend? He said, we're not together anymore. Wow. Okay. And we this was a group chat. And then, I was like, this is a group chat. And then I texted Samantha privately. You serious? You ready? Oh my God, what's going on? And then it went from there.
That's so crazy. I feel like that is probably one of the first things that I think people need to decide. As much as we might wish otherwise, you still kind of right now need like the 2 genetic sources to make a child. Absolutely. And like where are you getting that sperm? Like seriously, that's a big question. Where you getting that sperm? And it is, I think there's a lot that factors into it. Like we also have a known donor, but same thing. It's once you start making that list, it is a small list of people that you actually are willing to ask. And I also know that some people feel really a lot more comfortable with an anonymous donor, like for a lot of different reasons. We have a friend who is having to use an egg donor and also felt very strongly like was much more comfortable just having an anonymous donor as opposed to like asking, like a friend or a family member or something like that. I mean, there's so many different ways that people relate to those ideas, or adoption, right? I mean, or saying, hey, like we actually don't need to carry a child to have a child. I think that first step of starting your family is just figuring out, like what path are we taking? And then like once you kind of pick that road, that can set a lot of other things in motion. But it can be a long time. How long would you say from the time that you started saying like, hey, we want to do this, we're ready, to like actually trying? Like how long would you say that process took? Because for us, it was like 4 years. From when you first said like, we're going to do this and you're like narrowing down the list of people to like the first time you tried.
About a year.
Yes, a year.
Yeah. It's not like tomorrow all the time. So I think it's good for people to know like there's a lot of thought that has to go into it and like things that have to fall into place.
Absolutely. And thinking about the environment, I can just share my experience when we was starting with Samantha. Of course, it was just us two. So he was a known donor. He did his thing and it was just us and that's it. For me, I had a baby downstairs, and we actually moved. My mother-in-law, we lived in a house with my mother-in-law. She was here. We had our midwife here, him there. For me, I'll be honest, you have to think where your mind would be. It wasn't a comfortable situation for me. Like, he was in the bathroom. I'm sitting on the bed with my legs in the air. Mother-in-law's downstairs with the baby, feeding her in the high chair. Midwife is there playing with the baby. Okay, he's done. I'm like, oh, no. Yeah. I'll be very honest. I didn't think it would be like that, but for me, that's what my process was because of our family.
Yeah. Trying for the second time it's different.
It's different.
Yes.
Yeah, way different.
I'm curious too, since you did choose a known donor, for you, how much involvement do you want that person to have in your child's life? And also, how do you set boundaries with that person that are very clear?
Yeah, I'm so happy you asked.
Like, for me specifically, I wanted to have a known donor because I think, in my opinion, I don't know, I just wanted her to have access if she wanted to have access that was available. But he does see her. It's not like he's out of our lives. He sees her, but their interaction is...
Like, I would say he's just like a friend.
Yeah, like a friend.
Just like a friend, and that's what he is to us. Being that she doesn't see many males, because of TV and things around the world, she automatically thinks
Baby Shark
and Daddy Shark
and
yeah.
Mommy Shark. It's like totally like putting everyone in categories.
Yes. So she immediately started calling him Daddy. Me, I said, no, that's not happening. And I gave her his name, and she addresses him by his name, and that makes me so happy. He addresses her as Abigail, she addressed him by his name, and that's what it is. So just as a friend, you know, like, well, besides, we haven't asked him to watch her yet because that's what friends do.
Yeah.
But just coming around, if we're doing something together and he just pops by, no more than, 2 to 3 hours, he's a friend. That's it.
Yeah.
I really like that idea too, because I do think thinking about like all of the things that could happen, just like in the future, eventually maybe she'll want to know, like, how was I created, right? Who
Yes.
I know that there had to be some sort of sperm involved, and who is that? Because I have a friend from college, and she has 2 moms. And the sperm donor, he is almost like an uncle to her. Like, she sees him as part of the family, but not a parental figure. And he was, around. And like you said, I like the idea of like a friend. It's someone you know, it's someone you can care about, and they care about her, but they know that when it comes down to it, you are her parents.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm very happy with all of our decisions. And we had those specific conversations. You have to have that conversation when we started the process. He said, I said, we don't want any financial support from you, not at all. And he said, good, because I don't have that looking too. And I said, we just really appreciate you helping us out. That's what we need, obviously. And that's how it went from there, right?
This is like my PSA episode. PSA, the other way that you handle that is ideally, legally, there will be documents. I mean, while we're talking about all the other things that are required for starting a family, things like finding a donor or going through a sperm bank or whatever, there's a lot more paperwork involved to having a baby when you are a queer family. So, you'll be drafting things up. State to state is going to be different, but, probably you will want a lawyer who has done this before, or find like a good forum of people who have done this before and have paperwork, both for our protection and for their protection, so for us to have the protection of you don't have rights to this child, and for him to have the protection of like, you can't come to me for money if you decide you want that, so it's good all around, but it does add, time and cost and all sorts of stuff.
But it secures everything. Our adoption was just finalized December 19th, and we're good. He doesn't have any rights, and we don't have any rights to claim anything from him. So we're good. So December 19th, wow. I would say so that makes it almost a year and a half for us, but that's because of procrastination and travel. And then our living situation changed. So the social worker here in New York, we have to have a home study. As you mentioned, Lee, it's different in all states. So we had to have a home study.
Yeah, I still can't believe that. You were telling us that when we were in New Orleans, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah, so being that our home dynamic changed, home study had to take place with grandma because grandma lives in the house. People were joking like, well, we don't know if grandma has anything in her background check, but say if that would have happened, our adoption would have been declined. And like, I can't believe that. So thankfully everyone was good.
Yes. Grandma's above board. Good to know. Okay.
This is just like something that's come up as we're talking. because I'm just thinking about this. A lot of this stuff is very clinical, right? And like talking about lawyers, we're talking about like, okay, we got to go to a sperm bank and get people. Like, how do you, as queer women, find also like the romance of the like, we're making a baby together? You know?
You don't have to get too graphic with this.
No,
I
you know,
think
yeah,
it's
but you know what I'm saying. It
important.
doesn't have to be like, yeah.
Yes.
No, you can make like some connection, but I think being okay with some romance diminishing from the experience, I think will be a little bit more helpful because you can do like certain things like before and after, like during the process. But I think sometimes you want it to be the whole process, and it's just not gonna happen that way.
It's not.
Because there's always a portion of it that, you know, like for me, I think one of the frustrating things for me was like, why everybody else don't have to do this? Like, you know, with the case with the social worker, why she asking me all these questions? She needs to go ask everyone that pop out a child the same question. So it's just, I think it's more of it sometimes it's like the frustration of it not being like, I guess, like a process that's like has the same laws around it as everyone else. That was like a little bit more frustrating, but just finding moments to connect and finding different unique ways to connect is helpful, and understanding that you're in the process together is helpful.
It's also, I think it's important for, you know, if any of our listeners are thinking of starting down this journey soon, one thing that's actually really nice about it is completely separate from your sex life as queer women, right? There is nothing glamorous about making a child. Like, no matter whether you're straight, if you're gay, or however you're doing this, like, in some ways, it is always a clinical process. It has to be, you know? Like, straight couples, you are tracking your cycle, you're charting your temperatures, you're peeing on strips all the time, and, like, and we, you know, we have friends, straight couples, who tried for, like, 2 years. And that's 2 years of, like, every month going through this roller coaster ride of, like, now is the time, it has to be tonight, we're doing it this, then we're doing it in this many hours, then we're doing this again, and now I'm tracking, and now I'm waiting, and now I'm peeing, and it didn't happen, and we're doing it again next month. And like that takes a huge toll on your sex life as a couple that like it doesn't for us. Like it just, you know, it's completely kind of separate from that, which in some ways can be really nice. I mean, it takes a little bit of the magic out of it, I think is what you're getting at, Ellie, but it's clinical no matter how you're going about it, because that's what it is. It's like a medical process that you're kind of embarking on, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of medical. But I know in your book and also in your real life story, you had a doula, you wanted a natural birth. Can we talk a little bit about why you chose that path and how that went for you?
I didn't even know what a doula was before this process. Like I said, I don't do much research on the whole process. I think, Nye, you heard about it.
So I didn't realize, but I was actually taught what a doula was in college. But because it was my senior year, I didn't really pay attention. By The Business of Being Born is a Netflix documentary with Ricky Lake. But this kind of ties back to your question when you mentioned how do we make it romantic or how do we do the best we can. I wanted to provide, you know, the ultimate experience for my wife. So I'm like, ooh, doula, you know, that person can help. Let me contact a doula. I started doing research. Oh my goodness. And it was fun research to seeing how people's simple biography made me feel warm. And I wasn't the pregnant mom, you know, so I'm like, okay, my wife, first of all, we have different personalities. She likes to be touched on certain moments. So this doula would have to be very specific. So I just kept doing research and I said, babe, you know, this person will provide specific emotional and physical support that I can't. So are you open to this? I guess. Pregnant. This is pregnant Sam. I guess. This is July. Remember, I was sitting on I wanted to go out. This is 4th of July. I wanted to go out, but she was tired. So I'm just sitting on our recliner doing research. And I'm like, this is great. I found someone. And then she told me she didn't complete her certification. I said, well, take doula out your bio then. But she referred me to a nonprofit organization that actually worked on a sliding scale. And the money that we paid went to moms who were pregnant and couldn't afford a doula. So that made me feel solid gold. Awesome. Yeah, solid gold. And yeah. That's where we got our doula. It's called Ancient Song Services. They're located in Brooklyn.
I'm right there with you. Doulas are fantastic. I'm just full of PSAs, but my other PSA, because I do think doulas are great, and especially because you're both women of color as well, that I know there are a number of doulas who serve primarily communities of color and women of color. And if you can find any in your area, or if you find any who have like PayPals or Kickstarters or things, like donate to them, because it's fantastic and it's super, super important, especially for anyone who isn't aware that women of color giving birth are like one of the very at-risk populations of mothers in our country. Doulas are so, so important for like keeping people safe and healthy before and after birth. So, okay, I feel like we should have given me like a strict number of PSAs in this episode.
I'm gonna make a little like musical cue every time Lee does a PSA.
We'll make a drinking game out of it this episode. It'll be great. Okay, take a shot. Lee had a PSA. It's fine.
This PSA brought to you by Lee Holmes Foster.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/leshangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/leshangout.
Let's hang out.
For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart-Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast, Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's only one story. The Only One in the Room has a wide variety of guests, from prisoners to abuse survivors to swingers. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee that Only One in the Room will have a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
I do think we should talk a little bit about, once you've gotten to the point of deciding to do this, you're trying, you finally get pregnant, then it's something that you've been doing as a couple that takes like a very forked path for the two of you when one of you is carrying and one of you is not, right? And so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about like what was the journey through pregnancy like from the two sides of like being the gestational parent versus the non-gestational parent.
I think for me, I think just going through pregnancy, like one thing that was frustrating is that she couldn't understand like what I was going through like physically. Because in like the first trimester, like I didn't want to be touched like at all. Like just being around anyone, like it just made me nauseous. I didn't want to like the smells. Like it was just like I think we even like slept in separate areas. Like I just did not want to be around like anyone. And that like going from being together, being on top of each other and just being connected physically, and going from like a drastic change was something that definitely impacted our relationship. And us just not being aware that it is like the change in your body and the hormones, because it is a transition. But once that stage was like a little bit over, it got like a little bit better. So second and third, it wasn't that bad. But third, you see the actual pregnancy. So it's a little bit easier to, I guess, understand. I don't know.
It was easier for me to understand in the third, I agree. And honestly, as she mentioned, the frustrating part was I couldn't understand what was internally going on. And I love my wife. Like, I want her to be next to me. I like cuddling. We cuddled last night. Like, we don't cuddle because Abigail's in the bed. But we actually cuddled last night.
Don't suggest that.
Don't suggest that. And our cuddling felt great. I'm like, oh my God, I missed this so much. She's like, don't touch me. And I'm like, oh. So also don't touch me means I'm mad at you, but I'm like, how long are you going to be mad at me? But so that was difficult for me because like I appreciate our bodies literally connected. I do.
Also, post-pregnancy, like how has that also affected you? I know you're breastfeeding and one of you is not. So what's that like?
So, and it's funny because I actually participated in like an interview, me being the non-breastfeeding mom. How did I feel? And in the beginning of the pregnancy, when Samantha was actually pregnant, she knew she wanted to breastfeed because she wanted to say, her answer is, I wanted to save money. It's not because I want a connection with my baby. She said, I didn't want to spend $20 on formula. So that gave me the opportunity to understand that my wife is breastfeeding. I'll have to think of my connection another way. So I said I was fine. But that night when she said no more boob, she said no boob arm, I felt like elated. It felt very different. I was like, I did this. I put her to sleep.
With my armpits.
That's how she goes to sleep. Even with grandma. Actually, it's people outside of Samantha, even though she does it to Samantha as well, but that's where her comfort is.
I am for breastfeeding. I do think I probably do it more because I don't want to buy formula. But I think and I do think, yes, you do have that bond with the child. But I think, like, at this point, I'm, like, approaching 2 years. I do think it's a little overrated, in my opinion. Because it's, like, they're, like, the way how is it even, like, described? Like, oh, my gosh, you just connect with your child, and you bond, and you, like, I'm not saying that's not true. I'm saying that having someone attached to your body when they feel like it is not... It's just a little annoying to me. Like, I don't necessarily want to, like, I used to tell, because I breastfeed everywhere. Like, I don't care. I pop out my boob. I don't care who's looking. Like, it's literally like chicken to me. So it's like, when she wants her chicken, she can have a chicken. That's literally how it works. So, like, but then sometimes chicken don't want to get eaten. So it's just like... It's just, that's how I feel. And I'm probably, maybe because I'm like on the tail end of when I feel like I'm ready to stop, because 2 years is kind of like when I think it's time to let go and let loose so I can get my body back. But yeah, I just feel like people don't talk about that part as much. Like, yes, you do bond with your child. You do have an experience. But once, like, the teeth start coming in and the molars and all that, and they're trying to figure out how to maneuver their mouth. She used to bite me at the end of her feeding. I'm like, that's how, thank you. Yeah, so.
Yeah, there's less glamorous parts of it.
I always tell my wife, thank you. Do you agree, babe?
Yeah, she do.
I do. I say thank you because it is a lot. Again, she's in our bed. She's on the boob. Sometimes she'll stay up late at night waiting for Samantha. She's kind of getting away with that, but Samantha she takes to her liberty to make it home. So yeah, it's a different process, and it's something that I'll always honor. In the beginning, Samantha was she had a great flow. Like, I'm so thankful she didn't have a medium flow. Her flow was overflowing. So that's another thing that I made sure I consciously took in, like, babe, your boobs are okay. Are you engorged? We have so many nipple pads. When I washed laundry, I made sure the nipple pads were there. It's a process. It's really a process. She couldn't wear gray shirts for the first 8-9 months because she would be afraid.
it was a lot. And I think also, like, because I think some people struggle more with, like, underproducing, and it was just a lot. So, like, I think my complaint was more that, like, I couldn't go anywhere for, like, an hour and a half without it flowing out my clothes. Like, it was just, and I'm not ungrateful for the lovely boob juice that I had, but I'm just saying, like, it's just something that I didn't prepare. But maybe if I did my research, I probably would have been prepared for it.
There you go. But it helped us out. We actually traveled to Fiji when Abigail was 6 months.
Yeah.
We had, how many bags, babe?
It was like 68.
68 bags.
6 ounces of milk.
Yeah. You sure it was 6 or 8?
Nice.
Huh? It was 6 or 8. Oh, it was 6
Lee's
ounces.
like, impressive.
Yeah.
Man, traveling when you're pumping is a whole new experience.
Yeah, that's another thing. She pumped and dumped, right? You pumped and dumped because in Fiji, because we couldn't, take it back. It would have been hot too long. So we bought a deep freezer specifically for the breast milk. Grandma was watching her, and we got back. So thankful we didn't have any layover issues. We got back when it was 1 bag of milk left. So it just worked out. But I had backup. I had a friend who lived on Long Island, an hour away, who was going to donate milk. And I had one friend who lived in Brooklyn who was going to go get the milk. I had a whole system because we were new moms. I'm like, everything's set up. So I sent emails to everybody. Everyone was on deck to help us out. But we were down to our 1 bag. Yeah.
And pumping and dumping just, like, kills your soul, too. Like, because it's so much work and it's so much time. What would you say, other than breastfeeding is a big part of it, I think, but what would you say, have you noticed that there's, like, different roles that you think you fall into on, like, both being mothers? Like, how do you sort of split things up from the role of parenting?
I think Naisha likes everything to be equal, so... Like, even, like, getting Abby dressed in the morning, like, one of us has to get the food ready, and then another one has to get Abby dressed. So we both share that load.
We do, and I think
we share the diaper, changing the diaper.
I don't say, babe, it's your turn. Well, only Samantha runs. Samantha runs.
I do not run.
She runs when poopy diapers are around. I say, go tell Umi to clean your diaper, to change your diaper.
I'm not gonna tell lies today.
Samantha, like, it's not, you don't run physically, but it's like she has a poopy diaper.
But it's funny because I think maybe because, like, I take, like, the overnight shift, like, so when, like, Abby gets up, I don't know. I think, like, you just take, like, right before. So Naisha usually gives her a bath. I don't even think I gave Abby, like...
Twice, maybe.
Maybe, like, 10 baths.
Oh.
Like...
okay.
I don't give her a bath.
She doesn't give her even, honestly, even dinner, because
I'll give
of
her dinner.
Work schedule, like, the only day you really give her dinner is Thursdays.
Yes.
When you pick her up.
And weekends sometimes.
Yes. So yeah, to me, that's where the role is. And Grandma also helps with that. Grandma gives her bath when I don't pick her up during daycare. So Samantha is like, okay, time to go to sleep, boob. And Abigail's used to that. It hasn't been so recent, but she would tap her. Boot. She goes with boots, by the way, not boob. B-O-O-2.
I prefer boots.
Boot? Mommy, boot? And I'm like, really? So Abigail knows the roles as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So cute. So I want to talk a little bit about your book, Umi and Uma. So what was your catalyst for writing the book, right? You plan your family, you have your family, and then you're sitting here and you're like, we need something else.
Wait, first, can we talk about how you decided on Umi and Uma as names?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I did not want to go by Mommy and Mama. It was absolutely too boring for me. That was my take on it. And then Samantha was like, yeah, I guess I agree. I think that's what you said, babe. But it was too boring.
Yeah,
like,
super
Mommy?
boring. Who would do that?
I know.
It's okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It didn't work for me. I just didn't like it.
You like to be different.
I like, well, not even that. It just sounded boring. I'm sorry. So Umi,
I'm deeply offended, Naisha. Never on the podcast again.
I'm sorry. It just couldn't work for me. I'm bald, okay? It has to be a little different.
You gotta find what fits. You gotta find something that fits.
I'm sorry. So Umi means mom in Arabic. My cousins actually they're Muslim. They call their mom Arabic. They're way older than me. So when I saw that as a child, I really admired that. Wow, your mom goes by Umi and that mom. I really admired that. So that's something small. And then I had to look up I literally Googled other words from other terms for mom, and Uma came about. And it's actually a part of the Hindu dialect, means like Hindu goddess. I said, perfect. Umi and Uma, and there we go. And
who would have thought you would be the
goddess? I'm the goddess. So our parents supported it 100%, and Abigail calls us Umi and Uma. She calls us mommy when she wants something, but
she calls everyone mommy.
That's another thing. When she wants something, she goes by mommy. I'm like, Abby, like we had our cousins, they picked her up last week just from one night, and she was calling our cousin daddy, male, and his children's mom, mommy, and they were kind of concerned. He said, I just want to let you know. He was like, it was like a deep conversation. He said, I just want you to know, she's been calling me daddy since she arrived. And his girlfriend was like, yeah, and she's been calling me mommy. What should we tell her? And I said, I'm sorry. She calls everyone this, but I can address the name policy, and she kind of adheres to it, just like our donor. And they said, okay, and then they were fine. So yeah, Umi and Uma, and I love it. It makes me smile so much. Umi and Uma. Umi? Uma? Umi? Uma? Yeah.
I love it.
It's so funny because it is another thing where it's like, I feel like people project so much of an understanding of like heteronormative family models onto kids who are really just making like very easy sounds that they hear a lot of places, you know? Because yeah, I mean, we went through a huge phase like when Eloise first started, talking. I mean, having a couple words and stuff. And obviously one of her first words was mama. And even though Kelsey's mama and I'm mommy, and she called us both mama, and anyone else who was a woman around her who she wanted to get her attention was mama for like a long time. And you're like, it's just the only thing she can say.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not really a big thing. You don't have to read too much into it. They're just making sounds that they are capable of making. There's not many right now. So yeah, but it is funny how people are like, I don't want you to get upset, but.
Yes, but yeah, so we're used to that. And yeah, that's how we became Umi and Uma.
So you become Umi and Uma, and then you decide to write a book, and walk us through a little bit of how did the book come to be?
Yeah, so the book actually came about, the whole entire idea came about when Samantha was about 4 to 6 months pregnant. And that was because we were building, sorry, Abigail's out there. Umi? We were building our library, and we didn't have a book representing women of color within the queer community. So this was a problem. And then I just so happened to go to a Tony Robbins event, and he said, how would you feel if you didn't complete a specific task or complete a goal within the next 10 years? How would that make you feel? And I looked at it like, oh, snap. I need a book representing my family for our daughter. I said, Samantha, she didn't go with me. I was in Florida. I called her. I said, Samantha, this is crazy. One, I'm going to spend more money with Tony Robbins. 2, because he had a package deal, of course. 2, we're going to write a book. It's going to be a children's book about queer women of color becoming moms. And she said, okay. I was like, oh, my wife is on board for 2 things, spending money plus Tony Robbins, plus the book. And then I went home. Literally within 2 weeks, we wrote the book out together. Very thorough details, by the way. We had to find an independent publisher to create the book. It was a children's book. We don't have any drawing skills at all. Well, Samantha is way better than me, but for a children's book, no. So I got on the wonderful world of social media, typed in hashtag independent publishers. I also wanted to personally work with a publisher of color because I felt like, I just would have my message just drawn across with the characters of color in a different way. And I found someone on social media. To this day, we still have not met. We sent her pictures of us. We sent her pictures of Google pictures, and she just took it to another level. She exceeded my expectations, and I thank her to this day for doing that. And I had to trust her, but the trust was easy because she's produced 7 books. She's recognized. She has books in Barnes & Noble, which she helped our book get on BarnesandNoble.com. I'm just still to this day happy with her, still. And she helped us produce a wonderful book, babe. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Amazing. Well, I know that Abby is calling for you, so we're going to go into our Q&A super quickly with just a few quick multiple choice yes and no questions. Are you ready for our Q&A?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
Q and gay.
Question 1. Are you one of two mommies? A, yes, or B, no?
One of two mommies? Yes. I am. Naisha is. And Samantha is.
Yes, you both
There you
are.
go.
Yes.
Yeah, you're answering independently now, okay?
Oh, okay.
Question 2, what would you prefer to be called? A, mom, B, mama, C, Umi, or D, Uma?
Naisha goes for Uma.
Umi.
There you go. I'm also super excited to see what people write in for that one because I bet we will get so many answers, and I'm so
Yeah, I
pumped.
want to see what other people
Me too.
like are called as well. 3. What's your favorite children's book? A, Goodnight Moon, B, Where the Wild Things Are, C, Umi and Uma, and D, The Cat in the Hat.
Oh, out of those, am I being biased?
I was like, let me just sneak it in there. I'm like, well, I'll put it as C.
Thank you so much, Umi and Uma, the story of two mommies and a baby.
It's gotta be.
Plus, because Goodnight Moon's kind of weird when you actually read it.
Yes, it is.
It's a weird book. It's creepy. I don't know. Goodnight Nobody creeps me out every time. It's fine.
Goodnight Nobody.
And Cat in the Hat is too long for our age group. Yeah.
Question 4. How would you most like to, or have you already started your family? A, known donor, B, anonymous donor, or C, adoption or fostering?
Known donor. A.
All right, question number 5. Were you the A, gestational parent, B, non-gestational parent, or C, both?
B, non-gestational parent. Huh?
Oh, independently.
Independently.
We're both.
We're both.
Well, because Lee could answer both at a certain, right?
I would say both.
At
yeah.
each, at a different time.
I've done both.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I'm curious how people have done it. So, you know.
So where can our listeners find you all on social media?
Well, we are definitely live on Instagram. Two Mommies and a Baby. That's TWO, Mommies and a Baby. We enjoy Instagram. We have fun. People share much love there, so we'll share the love back for sure.
Awesome. And where can people find Umi and Uma?
It is available on our personal website, Diverse Books Matter. And I'm very happy to say we will begin publishing our second book, Abigail Goes to Columbia, in the spring.
Yay! I'm so excited.
So exciting.
Yes.
And we will also have Naisha and Samantha do an Instagram story takeover on our Instagram, so make sure you send in your questions. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It is always a delight talking to both of you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you even inviting us. We had so much fun.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from you and building our community, so we want to shout out some of our favorite things each episode. And I would love to shout out this week Killa Queen 24 on Instagram. They sent us a picture of a sticker with a hot woman on it and the word magic. I could probably be more specific, but my favorite part of their message was that they just sent this picture and said, magic is just a code word for gay, right?
As we all know.
As we all know, and I just want to say thank you for that, and thank you for spreading that knowledge to the rest of the world. I'm just happy we all know magic is just a code word for gay. So thank you, Killa Queen.
And thank you, Magic, for really just being gay.
Yes.
And as always, thank you to our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Lizette Stye,
Tanya Ferguson,
Jess Klaus,
Danny Griswold,
Sarah and Julia,
Carrie Ann Lawrence,
Mark Foster,
Danny Gunluck Tamora,
Audrey O'Connor,
Wendy K. Bartlett,
Brittany Ray,
and Kayla Kelly.
And a thank you to our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen.
And remember, you can also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
You can send us an email at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
Or you can check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use to listen to podcasts, make sure that you subscribe, and that way you'll get new episodes as soon as they go up every week.
We're also posting videos on our YouTube channel for our original music, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/letshangoutpod to catch them.
If you want to help support the podcast, there are so many ways that you can do that, and we appreciate all of them. The first is free, it's easy. You go on iTunes, leave us a rating and a review. It helps new people find the podcast, and we always love reading the reviews.
You can also join us on Patreon. Our patrons are our favorite people in the entire world. You can do that at bit.ly/lespatreon. You can hang out in our Discord chat. We do Les Angeles movie watches. We have some bloopers, particularly from this episode, where we had a lovely baby interrupt our session, because what would this episode be without a baby in the background, you know? But you can find those at bit.ly/lespatreon.
If you want to get some merch, you can find our TeePublic shop. We have a bunch of designs. You can get them on tees, on totes, on tanks, on sweatshirts, on all sorts of stuff. They go on sale all the time. I just got another sweatshirt that I'm super excited about. Got one of those gay all day cubes. So check it out. You can find it at bit.ly/lesshop.
And if you want to find us individually, you can find me at Ellie Brigida on Instagram and Twitter.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at LSH Foster.
With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Lee.
And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Buffet brawlers, glory holes gone wrong, cannibalistic castration cabins, public poopers? These are just a few of the crazy topics you'll hear covered on Excuse Me, That's Illegal, the pettiest podcast around. Whether you need a break from all that murdery true crime stuff, or just enjoy hearing hilarious stories told in a unique way, I got what you need. I'm Leroy Luna, your fearless host/chauffeur. So come hop in my minivan and let's go for a ride. I promise you probably won't be disappointed. Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, basically everywhere you consume podcasts, with new episodes dropping on the 10th, 20th, and 30th of the month, baby!